بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني من نور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علمك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We are discussing today those suspicions, suspicion in the technical sense means a probability which is more than 50% and less than certainty, like 60%, 70%. This is called dhann. We are discussing those types of dhann which are valid and can be used in the process of istinbat. So Ayatollah Subhani says we discuss it in two levels. First, imkanu ta'abbud bidhann. Is it possible to serve God, to obey God with following dhann? Is such a thing possible? The second is wuqu'uhu ba'da thubut imkanin. After we suppose that it is possible, now the question is, has this actually happened? That in religion, in Sharia, we are to follow dhann. So the first is something more general, and the second is something more specific. So we start with the first, which has little discussion. Al-mawdhu' al-awwal fi imkan at-ta'abbud bidhann, about the possibility of ta'abbud, means serving, showing servitude, obedience with dhann, by following. When we say imkan, possibility, we mean al-imkanul wuqu'i. In philosophy, alhamdulillah, we had this discussion. Sometimes we have imkan al-dhati. Is something in its essence possible or not? That's not something we have any doubt. It's possible. The question is, has this been applied in religion? Because maybe something in essence is possible, but because of some harms that it can cause, because of some mafsada, some harm, it doesn't happen. So, al-muradu minhu huwa al-imkanu al-wuqu'i, ay ma la yatarattabu ala wuqu'ihi mafsadatun, something that if it occurs, it would not lead to any harm. فالبحث في أنه هل تترتب على التعبد بالظن مفسدة أو لا. The question is this, the discussion is this. If we obey by following one, would any harm be caused or not? There are people who say it's impossible to obey through dhann. They said because it leads to harm. There are people who say it's okay because they say it would not lead to harm. So this is the core of the discussion, whether this leads to harm or not. For example, Ibn Qubbah al-Razi, who died in 317, one of very early scholars, and he has a book called Al-Insaf of al-Imamah, fairness in the issue of Imamah. He had the idea that it's impossible to follow dhann. But Ayatollah Subhani says we don't need to discuss that much about this, because when inshallah we would see that this has actually happened and there are some types of dhann that we can follow, then أدل دليل على إمكان الشيء وقوعه. The best reason to prove that something is possible is the fact that it has happened. Yeah? What is stronger than something happening to show that it was possible? أدل دليل على إمكان الشيء وقوعه. The best reason, the best argument, the best proof for possibility of something, it's its occurrence. Okay? So we don't need to discuss that much about this because as we will see inshallah there are several types of one that are accepted. So الموضع الثاني في ورود التعبد بالظن بعد ثبوت إمكانه. The second level is, the second position is to see whether obedience through dhan has come, has occurred. After saying it's possible, has it actually happened in Sharia or not? قبل الدخول في صلب الموضوع. Before we enter into the core of the topic, the core of the discussion, let us first establish a principle, a rational principle. If you remember in Mabadi Usul al-Fiqh, sometime we had this discussion that we said, let's see what is asl, and if we don't have any extra evidence, we follow asl. Otherwise, we follow the extra evidence. Means, if we are left without any extra evidence, what should be the judgment? So here, what is the main principle with respect to acting according to suspicion? One, the main principle that it is not valid. Yeah? الظن إن الظن لا يغني عن الحق شيئا. Dhan is not valid. If you want to follow dhan, you need extra evidence for some types of dhan. It's not like yaqeen. Yaqeen, certainty, we said asl is that certainty is accepted, is valid. But with respect to dhan, لا تقف ما ليس لك به علم إن الظن لا يغني عن الحق شيئا. Okay? قبل الدخول في صلب الموضوع, before entering the core of the topic, the core of the subject. لا بد أن نبين ما هو الأصل في العمل بالظن. We have to clarify what is the first assumption, the first principle with respect to acting according to dhan, acting upon dhan. حتى يكون هو المرجع عند الشك, so that this becomes the authority, the reference when we have doubt. Whenever you are not able to establish this type of dhan is valid, you have to refer to this assumption. Is it clear? فما ثبت خروجه عن ذلك الأصل نأخذ به. Whatever is proved to be excluded, to be taken out of that principle, we accept. Otherwise, we go back to that principle. So if you have overriding evidence, you follow it. Otherwise, you have to follow asl. Is it clear? نقول إن القاعدة الأولية في العمل بالظن هو الحرمة وعدم الحجية إلا ما خرج بالدليل. The first rule, the principle here is that you cannot act according to dhan unless you have evidence, you have a proof. Because dhan is not bringing certainty.
Can you explain to me, can you remind what asl please?
Asl means principle. Here means the main assumption, the main principle that we should follow. Why asl is, the first assumption is that we cannot follow them? Because you are not sure. In Sharia, we want to say this is the ruling of God, but when you have one, you are not sure. You cannot attribute this to God. الدليل عليه أن العمل بالظن عبارة عن إسناد مؤداه إلى الشارع في مقام العمل. When you act according to dhan, you are attributing mu'addah, what can be understood from that argument, that reason. Okay, the subject of that reason. For example, you have a hadith which gives you certainty, gives you dhan. What that hadith says, you want to say this is the ruling of God. You are attributing it to legislator, to lawmaker. وَمِنَ الْمَعْلُومِ أَنَّ إِسْنَادَ الْمُؤَدَّى إِلَى الشَّارِعِ أَنَّمَا يَصِحُّ فِي حَالَةِ الْإِذْعَانِ بِأَنَّهُ حُكْمُ الشَّارِعِ. You can only attribute this to lawmaker, to God the Almighty, if you can acknowledge, admit that this is the ruling of God. Otherwise, you are making yourself the ruling. وَإِلَّا يَكُونُ الْإِسْنَادُ تَشْرِيعًا. You are yourself making the ruling and imposing on religion. This is a bid'ah, that you are making the law and then you put it into Sharia. دَلَّتْ عَلَى حُرْمَتِهِ الْأَدِلَّةُ الْأَرْبَعَةُ. All four sources that we have, al-kitabu was-sunnatu wal-aqlu wal-ijma', all of them indicate that such thing is prohibited. No one should make a law and attribute it to God. What is legislation? Legislation is that you make the law and then put it inside the religion. We are not given the authority to be shari', to be doing legislation. Of course, this is about Sharia. You can have legislation like parliament, for example, for certain issues, but we cannot change the rulings which are coming from God for the major framework of our life. ليس التشريع إلا إسناد ما لم يعلم أنه من الدين إلى الدين. Tashri' is nothing other than attributing what is not known to be from religion to religion.
What is tashri'?
Legislation. Okay, it's like bid'ah. There are different definitions for bid'ah. Bid'ah?
Yeah.
Heresy. Some say إدخال ما ليس من الدين في الدين. إدخال ما ليس من الدين في الدين. Something which is not from religion, you put it into religion. But some people have said, no, it's actually even more than this. Not only إدخال ما ليس من الدين في الدين, إدخال ما لا يعلم أنه من الدين في الدين is also bid'ah.
What is the difference?
The difference is that sometimes you don't know this is from religion and still you say this is from religion. This is also bid'ah. You have to have valid proof so that you can say this is from Islam. You cannot, say, maybe this is the case. I'm not sure that this is wrong, so I can say it. Or you hear from someone and you say this is what Islam says. You have to avoid attributing things that you know are not from religion to religion, and also you have to avoid things that you are not sure and still you want to say this is from religion. The only thing that you can say is when you are sure and you have valid proof that this is from religion, then you can attribute it to religion.
So
Yes.
it has to be censored. I have known this in the school of the Al-Mujaz, but apparently there is different types of bid'ah, and there's bid'ah hasana, which is fine.
Now, bid'ah, if it is used in technical sense, it's not fine. But sometimes they mean by bid'ah something which is new.
Yeah, like Taraweeh is bid'ah hasana.
No. If you say that this is religious, this is something that Islam has legislated, this is not possible. Okay? For example, making university is a new thing. And this is not bid'ah because it is new. If someone wants to say this is bid'ah, okay, say it's a good bid'ah. But it's not bid'ah actually, because you are not saying that this is part of religion. Or for example, to have parliament, to have, I don't know, three, judiciary system, executive, system, for example, parliament, this type of systems. These are based on human experiences, and they are good. Maybe we can find something better in future, but you cannot say this is from religion. But you can do it. If someone says, no, this is bid'ah because they didn't exist in the time of the Prophet, we say, no, this is not the definition of bid'ah. And if it is bid'ah, it's a good bid'ah. But in reality, it's not bid'ah. Because bid'ah means to put in religion, to give religious label, so that people do it as their religious obligation. When you know that this is not from religion, or when you are not sure and still you want to attribute it to religion. So, إدخال ما ليس من الدين في الدين, or even more, إدخال ما لم يعلم أنه من الدين في الدين. Okay? If today you just have learned this, this is very good. But inshallah you learn more things. Okay.
Can I ask a question, please? I
Yes.
think Imam Jafar started university in Medina, so it can't be bid'ah. He started university teaching all sorts of subjects, medical,
University,
religion, everything.
university in the modern sense is new thing.
I see.
But yes, learning and that is like hose.
Yes.
Yeah. Or for example, traffic regulations. Red light, green light. These are new. Yeah. But we cannot say this is bid'ah. If someone wants to say this is part of religion, while there is no proof that this is part of religion, that's bid'ah. Otherwise, not bid'ah. It's something new and it's good. Maybe today we have some types of food that didn't exist at that time. It's not bid'ah. Today we use, I don't know, gas to cook. It's not bid'ah. So, those are people who are very strict, who would say anything which is new is bid'ah. Our definition is very clear. إدخال ما لم يعلم أنه من الدين في الدين. في الدين. Not in life. في الدين. You have someone raise his hand? You raise your hand?
Yeah, I don't remember the scholar, but one of the scholar he mentioned from Mullah Bakir Majalsi from Miratul Uqul or some book, that he says that the bid'ahs are 5 kinds, like wajib, mustahab, or all those 5. So if he's saying this, then it connects to.
It means in the literal sense, not technical sense.
Okay.
That's literal sense. Yeah.
It's not.
Isnad means to ascribe, to attribute. Yes.
In the house of Imam Jafar Sadiq Ibn Haytham, his reporter, is in the museum, that he learned about optics from Imam Jafar Sadiq.
Yes.
So he was teaching medicine as well in the house.
Yeah. Even up to about maybe 60, 70 years ago, still in Hose, medicine was taught, astronomy, even now is taught in some places, mathematics. If you look at Ibn Sina, look at Khaja Nasir Tusi, Allama Hilli, Allama Tabatabai, they had knowledge of many different disciplines. Yeah. So all the four sources, all the Adillatul Arba'a indicate that bid'ah is prohibited. But we mention here only Quran. Ayatollah Subhani in the footnote says because of shortage of space, we only mention a reason from Quran. We don't mention hadith or aql or ijma. It's obvious. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yunus, verse 59, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ مِنْ رِزْقٍ فَجَعَلْتُمْ مِنْهُ حَرَامًا وَحَلَالًا. Allah is condemning people, criticizing people that from their own opinion, based on their own understanding, they say some of the rizq that Allah has given is halal, some is haram. This food is halal, this food is haram, this business is halal. Allah says, why you do this? You cannot make halal and haram based on your own decision or opinion. So this ayah very clearly rejects people who put into religion what is not proved and known to be from religion. الآية تدل على أن الإسناد إلى الله يجب أن يكون مقرونا بالإذن منه سبحانه. This ayah indicates that attributing something to God must be accompanied by permission from God. Should have permission. Maqroon means accompanied. Qarin. If there is no permission, في غير هذه السورة يعد افتراء. Then this is a lie. Yeah, a false attribution. Iftira means I say, for example, you did something but you have not done it. I say you told something but you have not told it. Means I am telling a lie about you. You understand? Iftara ala Allah. And it doesn't make difference whether you know that there is no izn or you have doubt. Even if you have doubt that God has given permission, you should not say it. You cannot say, maybe God was happy with this. Like, someone asks you mas'ala shari. If you know this is wrong, you cannot say it. But even if you are not sure that it's wrong, you say, maybe it's okay. I tell him, hopefully it's okay. This is not acceptable. You can only answer if you are sure. You cannot say, 60% is okay, so I say it. I don't know that this is lie, so I say it. Even if you don't know that this is lie, you should not say it. Rumors are created by this, People hear something, and normally it's not that they know this is wrong. Normally they don't know, say maybe, maybe not, but still they mention it. Okay? You have question?
I was just going to say you have to have cuts when you give an opinion. You have to have certainty.
Yes.
Even if you think of something, you can't relate that. I think this is.
Yeah. You have to be equipped with proof. Valid proof, not necessarily that you are yourself 100% sure. But for example, you hear marja. Fatwa of marja does not make you 100% sure. But you are 100% sure that this is hujjah. Is it clear? You understand the difference? When marja says something, we are not 100% sure that this corresponds to the hukmullah al-waqi'i.
Of course.
We are not sure. But we are sure that this is valid. Or for example, if khabar wahid is hujjah, a just person narrates something. We are not sure that he didn't make mistake. But still this is valid. We are sure that this is valid because uqala, because also religion have accepted khabar wahid. Yes.
So Shaykhna, just to clarify, even if we have evidence which is dhanni, it's not as you mentioned, clear cut 100% we can rely on, but it is valid evidence and you follow. So this would not be included in the dhan that we are saying
Exactly.
is haram. So the dhan that we are defining here is where you sort of
Which is just simply dhan.
yeah.
But if there is something to back up dhan, then this indeed is not dhan anymore. And sometimes ulama to distinguish between this, they said dhanni. Dhan and dhanni. It's something which is coming from dhan, but it's not dhan only. You have a proof for it.
So dhanni sudur is that what you mean? Dhanni is where
No,
you have
no,
something.
no.
So what is the difference between dhan and dhanni in the link?
No, dhanni sudur is just grammatical. But sometimes when they distinguish between two types of dalil, they say dhanni and they mean valid dhan. Valid dhan. فالآية تدل على أن الإسناد إلى الله يجب أن يكون مقرونا بالإذن منه. When you want to attribute, to ascribe to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it should be accompanied by permission from God. Otherwise, it would be lying. Whether permission is mashkukul wujud, is doubted, like here, or you are sure that permission is not there. Maqtu'ul adam. We know that there is no permission. Wal ayatu ta'ummu kilal qismain. This ayah which says why you make part of rizq of Allah halal, part of it haram, includes whether the person knows that this is wrong or is not sure. In both cases, he has no right to decide what is halal, what is haram. أن العامل بالظن شاك في إذنه سبحانه ومع ذلك ينسبه إليه. The problem is that al-mafruz, the assumption is that the one who wants to follow dhan is in doubt about permission of Allah, and still he says this is what Allah says, this is the ruling of God, he attributes it to God. Okay, so the main principle, the underlying principle is that dhan is not hujjah. Okay? But ulama usul have mentioned few exceptions. ذكروا خروج بعض الظنون عن هذا الأصل. They said there are some types of dhan that are not remaining, do not remain under this principle. For example, ظواهر الكتاب. ظاهر الكتاب, plural is ظواهر. ظاهر الكتاب is not certain. It's not nas. Nas is 100%. Zahir is when there is possibility of another interpretation. But that other interpretation is not very probable. Uqala ignore it. Okay? So, Zahirul Kitab is dhan, brings dhan, but it is valid. according to many ulama. Ash-shuhratul fatwa'iyyah. Some ulama have mentioned ash-shuhratul fatwa'iyyah. When a ruling is something that many fuqaha have issued fatwa corresponding to that ruling. Okay? The fact that this is popular fatwa, it doesn't bring certainty. Does it bring certainty? No. But it brings dhan. It makes you think that it's very likely, because so many fuqaha have made fatwa like this. It makes you think that this is more likely. According to some, this is hujjah. We discuss it. Al-khabar al-wahid, or khabar al-wahid. Khabar al-wahid. When the narrator is just but not many. Okay? Like Zurara narrates something from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Or someone narrates from Zurara and he's adil, he's righteous. This is called Khabar al-Wahid. You remember we had discussion, is Khabar al-Wahid hujjah or not? Some argued from إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا. Mafhum of this ayah is that if the one who brings khabar is not fasiq, you don't need to investigate. قول اللغوي. Sometimes you want to establish the meaning of a term which is important. For example, what is the meaning of ghanima? وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَأَنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى. What is ghanima? Is it just war booty, or it is any profit you make? We refer to lughavi, to those who are expert in lugha, etymology. But does it produce certainty? Not necessarily. You may not become certain, but still it's valid, according to some.
So you refer
To the experts in etymology of the language. Those who tell you what is the meaning of this term or this root. Like Lisan al-Arab for Ibn Mandur. You go to those early book, Mu'jam Maqa'is al-Lugha, for example, Misbah al-Munir. Okay, now let's discuss these things. First, we start our discussion with Zawahirul Kitab. Uqala.
Sorry, Sheikh.
Yes.
In this book, it's a bit different. It says there's one more. Al-ijma' al-manqulu bi-khabar al-wahid.
Yes. That's the number 4. Ijma, consensus, is hujjah. But if ijma is something that you have established, you remember we have ijma' al-muhassal, ijma' al-manqul. Sometimes I myself check all the fatawas, all the books, and I say there is consensus. Muhassal. I have established this. Sometimes I read Sahib Jawahir, for example, says there is ijma'. I am not 100% sure. Maybe Sahib Jawahir missed something. This ijma' is called al-ijma' al-manqul, means ijma' consensus which is narrated, cited, means someone else claims this. If one person, even if he's adil, claims this, it doesn't produce certainty. It's dhan. But some say it's okay, because this is like khabar wahid.
So these 5 are done, but they are acceptable.
According to some. Some accept 5 of them, some accept some of them. حجية ظواهر الكتاب العزيز. the outward meaning of Quran. Zahir, you know Zahir, opposite to Nas. Father? Apparent, you can say yes. اتفق العقلاء. Please be careful. If you say I don't accept this, then your aql is question. اتفق العقلاء. All uqala agree. The reason we say all uqala agree, because this is actually the basis of language. If uqala had not agreed on this, they would not have made and used language. Because in language, 99% you don't have nas. Yeah? So the fact that people use language, it shows that this is common sense. This is something that uqala agree. اتفق العقلاء على أن ظاهر كلام كل متكلم إذا كان جادا لا هازلا حجة وكاشف عن مراده. Reasonable people, rational people agree on the fact that the apparent meaning of the speech of any speaker, if he is serious and not making joke, Hazil is the one who is humorous, is kidding or joking. If someone is serious, they say Zahiru kalamihi hujjah. The apparent meaning of what he says is hujjah. And this, they say we can discover from what he says muradihi. We can understand what he means. Kashif means unveils. Yeah, unveils his intention, his meaning, what he means. And this is why in all societies, say uqala, in all communities, all societies, for example, they say this person admitted this. Judiciary system in all countries. المعنى الظاهري in إقرار, in admission and confession. Or for example, if someone makes a will, writes his will, you follow what? المعنى الظاهري. You don't follow nas, because sometimes there can be other interpretations, but you say this is the way that normally people understand, and they ignore alternative interpretations. Or يحتج بالرسائله وكتاباته. They argue based on his writings and books, or letters and books.
شفنا هي اتفق العقلاء. Is this إجماع منقول وإجماع مفصل, or is it استقراء واستدلال? This اتفاق that we are saying everyone عقلاء agree. What type of agreement is this?
This is ijma, but not ijma in the sense that we say, because ijma for us is important when it is from ma'soom. This is something that is, you can say of it, from this I can understand the view of ma'soom, because even in the time of ma'soom there was such a thing. Or you can say from this we understand that this is the assumption of all people when they use language. So you don't use language unless you have accepted this. It's a kind of contract. If you use language, you have to play with the games of the language, with the rules of language.
So this section, this what he just mentioned now, this is istidlal or istiqra'?
Istidlal.
Istidlal.
Yes, because we are not going to count all uqala. All uqala think like this.
So this is a sort of a joint argument between istidlal and maybe some sort of ijma' also from what we have seen and what we have heard. It's not a single one. It's maybe an argument that joins two or three things together to find this conclusion. That this is how people use language, but we haven't obviously seen all people. So is this some sort of istidlal used with some sort of ijma' used with some sort of maybe istiqra'?
Yeah. If you manage, this is a very good question. No, there are two ways to establish a universal rule. One is istiqra. For example, if I want to say that all uqala follow al-mana al-zahiri, if I want to do istiqra, I have to travel all over the world or collect data from all people all over the world, and then if I see that all of them accept al-ma'na al-zahiri, I can say, okay, all uqala of today, they follow al-ma'na al-zahiri. This is istiqra. There is another way. There is another way. And that is when you reach what we call al-mistaq bil-dhat. Al-mistaq bil-dhat. You may only investigate one person or few people, but you are able to say that no particularity of this person or this group was important. So I can observe 5 people, but my observation can help me to understand what all human beings do. Even sometimes you don't need to observe other people, you can observe yourself. But not as Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. If you can observe yourself simply as a human being and find out what you as a human being believe or do, then you can generalize it. But this is very delicate issue. A very, very delicate issue. So you have to reach al-mistaq bil-dhat. Means purely typical instance.
So
Did you get it?
Yes, but this includes istidlal.
Pardon?
This includes istidlal mantiq.
So then, if you understand this from this, then you can have qiyas. Because you generalize it, then you have a general rule, then you apply it to every case. This point was very important. If you remember this point, inshallah, and learn it, it helps you a lot.
But qiyas was mostly externally following.
Qiyas mantiqi.
Qiyas mantiqi means deduction.
This qiyas mantiqi.
Qiyas mantiqi. Okay. So, Ayatul Kitab al-Karim. إذا لم تكن مجملة ولا متشابهة. If the verses of the Quran are not mujmal, you remember we said
Ijmal.
mujmal and mubayyan. Mubayyan is zahir or nas. Mujmal means it's not clear. It's
Vague.
unclear. Mutashabih. Mutashabih is also something that carries different possibilities and you don't know which possibilities meant. Of course, mutashabih can be clarified in the light of muhkamat. But if mutashabihat are by themselves, you don't know what's the meaning. Okay. Ayatul Kitab al-Karim, the verses of the Quran, if they are not ambiguous or mutashabih, laha zawahir, they have apparent meaning like other words, other texts. يحتج بها كما يحتج بسائر الظواهر. We can argue from these ayat as we do with respect to other words, other speeches, other texts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Allah says, we have made Quran easy to remember or easy reminder. Is there anyone to reflect and to remember, to ponder? If we were not supposed to benefit from al-ma'na al-zahiri, why? Allah made it easy for our reflection. Or for example, Allah says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى غُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. Don't they ponder on the Quran, or the hearts are sealed? If al-ma'na al-zahiri is not hujjah, why we should ponder? What can we get from it? كل هذا يعرب عن كون ظواهر الكتاب كسائر الظواهر. All of this indicate that apparent meanings of Quran is like apparent meaning of other texts. حجة. They are hujjah. كسائر الظواهر حجة ألقيت للإفادة والاستفادة والاحتجاج والاستدلال. They have been said for benefiting and benefiting from. Ifada means to benefit. Istifada, to benefit from. Ihtijaj, arguing. Istidlal, reasoning. Okay. Let us be now more technical. In order to argue from someone's speech, we need 4 conditions. Okay? There are 4 conditions. If these 4 conditions are there, whether for Quran or any other text, you can follow the Zahir. إن الاحتجاج بكلام المتكلم يتوقف على ثبوت أمور. To argue from the speech of any speaker needs few things to be established. Means there are few conditions. Thubut means to have these things.
To make it hujjah.
To be hujjah.
So for these 4 things must be present for it to be hujjah.
So means there are 4 conditions.
For hujjah.
Yeah, there are 4 conditions to be able to accept something as hujjah. First, the very first thing, that you must be sure that this person has said this. Yeah? ثبوت صدوره من المتكلم. We must be sure that this has been issued from this person. Second, you must be sure that this person was serious when he said this. ثبوت جهة صدوره وأنه لم يكن. So he meant this. For example, he was not joking, or he was not doing taqiyya. Okay? So he meant this. So first, make sure that he said this. Second, make sure that he meant this. Third, you have to establish what are the meanings of the terms and the sentence. He has used few words. What do these words mean? What are the ma'na zahiri for each word? And what is the ma'na zahiri for the sentence? The 4th thing is, now that we have made sure that he has said this and he has meant this, and we know al-ma'na zahiri for all the words and the structure that he has used, we have to also believe that the zahirul kalam is hujjah. Okay? Now, ثبوت صدوره من المتكلم in the case of Quran is 100% clear. It's mutawatir. Quran is the word of God. ثبوت جهة صدوره, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means what he says. He's not joking or he's not doing taqiyya. This is also clear. Third, ثبوت ظهور مفرداته وجمله. This is what we studied in Mabahis al-Alfaz, that we said, through tabadur and itrad, all these things, sihhatus salb, adamu sihhatus salb, we can understand what is ma'na zahiri. So the only thing is zahiru kalami hujjah or not? How can everyone's word be hujjah? When it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then his zahir is not hujjah. Then why he sent the Quran? Isn't the Quran the book of guidance? So some people have tried to establish need for ahadith for Ahlul Bayt, but unfortunately they didn't do it properly, and they wanted to say Zahir al-Kitab is not Hujjah. We have to understand through the light of Hadith. We say no, Zahir al-Kitab is Hujjah, but for any text you have to bring all other evidence that might help. Okay? Every person says Zahir al-Kalam is Hujjah, but for example, if he has said something before that can clarify this, you have to refer to those evidence. So this is the idea, and inshallah we follow this inshallah next session. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Says,